More than 50% of the population in the United States have issues with attachment, and that means how it is that they form emotional bonds with other people. And this is so important because it impacts our relationships with our romantic partners, our friends, our colleagues, and of course, our relationship to ourselves and self-esteem. So my name is Bev. I created this channel to talk all things about attachment styles and how it impacts us throughout our life and our different life cycles. If this is something that is of interest to you, please give us a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends if you think it's worth sharing. Let's dive in. So I love what you're doing, creating this platform where you're encouraging men to speak a little more. I think it's very important. Like I said, I work a lot with men, and I work, of course, with women and couples. And attachment styles is absolutely one of the things that we see that is preventing some men, from communicating in the way they want to. There's also socialization. Right? So I think you and I both know that girls and boys at a young age in our environment, we'll talk about in North America, are socialized very differently, right?
Yes.
And so I don't want to say that it's just attachment styles is sort of at the root of all of this. Socialization plays a big difference in gender communications.
Right.
Right? So little girls are given a lot of grace to experience all sorts of emotions, right? Happiness, sadness. They're not given a lot of grace to experience anger, but boys are. So boys are given latitude to experience anger, sadness, happiness, and that's sort of the breadth. It sort of
Right.
stops
Right.
there, right? Whereas girls, if a girl is crying, we would consider that to be societally normal or acceptable, right? We
Right.
don't give that same latitude to boys, which I personally think is very, very damaging.
Yes. I will tell you that, and I had another guest on, and we were talking about this similar thing that as an adult man, it has made life extremely difficult for me, growing up because I've had such a difficult time expressing myself to people I care about. And when it comes to things like crying, like, I do not cry. Okay. I am 52 years old and I have not cried in almost 20 years. And
Really?
yes. And even like when my father-in-law passed away, when my mother-in-law passed away, didn't shed a tear. As much as it hurt, did not shed a tear because I felt that this was something because I'm a fixer, you know,
Uh-huh.
so I'm busy worried about fixing everybody else
Huh?
and not taking any time or space for my own personal emotion.
Uh, can I ask you a personal question?
Sure, sure.
Do you have any memory or recollection of when you were younger and you did cry and what happened when you did?
I grew up in an environment, so my mom worked a lot, so growing up with my uncles and cousins and that, we were if you fall down, a piece of your leg meat could be hanging out. Don't cry. Men don't cry. Stop that
Why?
damn crying.
What would
Yeah.
happen if you did?
It was like a cousin of mine, it was like, I, take a kid, like, he'd pop me in the head or something, like, "Hey, knock that shit off. Men don't cry." You know,
So there
you
was
know.
fear associated with it. I'm trying to
Yes. Yeah.
understand, is it because you would be criticized, made fun of, you would be punished? Like,
It was it
what
was
would
more
happen if little
it was
Michael
more
cried?
it was more criticizing, and that, "Hey, boy boy, knock that mess off," you know? So and it we never got, like, belittled or anything. It was just more, "Hey, boys don't cry."
Boys
Boys
don't
do,
cry. You got the message that
boys are tough, we don't cry, we do this, we do that, but boys don't cry,
yeah,
plain and simple. So,
yeah.
I grew up to be a man who didn't cry, but, through I did parenting classes and, have taken some steps to try to learn more about my own issues, did some counseling and that, and as I with my own sons, I never put that same burden on them, like, because I don't cry doesn't mean you don't have to. And this is, like if that I don't think less of you guys if you cry. If that is how you need to let it out. And this was something that was important to me about breaking the cycle because I did not want another person in his family who could not express themselves the same way with like every when it comes to being emotional, that type of stuff sometimes turns into anger because I don't want to feel that way. And this is my entire point of this conversation and doing what I'm doing, is to try to get more guys to be okay with expressing themselves.
Hmm.
And I get it. We don't want to be people who, every time they see something sad, they're just bawling. I get that. No man wants to be that way. Okay.
Right.
Lifetime movies, you're crying more than your significant other. No, we don't want to be that way. But we do want to have a safe space to know that if I'm having a moment, you're my person and I can express that to you and you won't feel any less about me for it.
Right. Or you won't criticize me the way I was criticized when I was younger.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the fear. That's the fear is what's driving the behavior here. And I'll ask a very interesting question. When you get angry, or when little Michael, young Michael got angry, how was that responded to? Were you told, "Boy, we
That
don't
was
get angry"?
no,
Mm,
no. So I was never so I grew up in Jersey, so coming up, like, I learned at an early age, "Hey, protect yourself, protect your brother, protect your family." So when little Michael would get angry, that would be a fight of some sort.
mhm,
If you did something even when we moved away from Jersey, you know, uh, my dad was in the military, you know, I was not the person to let things go, so if you did something to my brother, I was gonna eventually catch you, you know? And so as an adult man, you know, I recognize those things and I need, I'm still growing. So I need those things to be different. I want at some point in my life, I want to feel comfortable, you know, expressing myself in a way where I'm not going to feel like people are going to judge me for it.
mhm.
So
Yeah. You're a cycle breaker, Michael. You should be very proud of
trying to
yourself.
be, I'm trying
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah, but you know what? You should be very proud of yourself. I think this entire conversation is just illustrating the point that what you learned in childhood in terms of what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior shaped your lens, your mindset for how you were going to behave long after you left your childhood years.
Right.
So there is a reason today why it feels unsafe for you to cry, but you have no problems, displaying anger because anger was
Zero.
acceptable.
Right. I have 0 problems with anger, and I have 0 problems, though, being emotional with my kids. So, like, my kids can come up to me, hug me all day, I tell them I love them nonstop, you know? It is just the emotion that, like, if they come to me and they're upset about something, I'm never gonna be the person that's gonna cry with them. I'm always gonna be the person that's gonna try to fix whatever's going on.
Yes, I
So,
understand. But you're not going to criticize them for crying, right?
no,
You'll give them
no,
a
no, I
hug
never.
and give them
Yeah,
space for their emotions.
yeah, and that I think that with my girls, it's always been a natural thing, they cry freely. With the boys, because I didn't, they questioned whether or not they could, and we recognized that early on
Yeah.
and made sure that it was something that we fixed.
That's so wonderful. I
Yeah,
applaud you.
thank you.
Many people don't come to these realizations.
Right. Well, but that's the thing is that this is why this conversation is so important because more people need to see that, having these conversations and men need to be okay with, "Hey, I'm not okay, and I need to break this cycle for my kids." Or, you know what, "Hey, I've got young kids, and I need to break this cycle of, whatever it is. It's a cycle that we need to break,
Yes.
so I leave a better path for my kids than what was laid out for me."
I love that. And so, emotions, all of us, men and women, have the same, aptitude for the range of emotions. It's not that women are more emotional or men are less emotional. As humans, we all have the same aptitude for emotions. Society dictates this is acceptable, this isn't acceptable. And of course, that changes in where you grew up in the world and your family dynamics.
Right.
So, once you realize that, it's very freeing.